Alrighty, guys. Good morning to you all here. Good afternoon, I should say, along the East Coast here. Hope you guys are all doing well on this lovely Wednesday. We've got some good news, guys. The severe weather, or at least the significant severe weather days, are going to be non-existent for the next 4 to 5 days here. We're going to have a high-pressure ridge that's going to be building across the majority of the United States. There will be some low-end severe weather threats like today you see down in Texas and Oklahoma. These are level 1 risks out of 5. They actually dropped the slight risk that was in place for Texas today just because there's not a lot of storms that are going to be firing off. So we've got a couple days of low-end severe weather days across the southeast, the southern plains, down towards Florida. There's going to be some rain and some thunderstorms out across potentially around the Ohio Valley tomorrow. But other than that, we're not going to be in coverage mode. We're going to really have the next 4 to 5 days off in terms of the severe weather coverage, really until we get to next week. I think things are going to change once again. This is what we call a short ridge, not a long ridge. A lot of people use the word death ridge in terms of it's a meteorological term when you've got a huge high pressure dome over the United States, just keeping any type of troughing out, which really just allows for very warm air to build. Droughts can build that way. So the good news is we're not going to see that ridge for quite some time, or we're not going to see it for a long-lasting time. We're going to see it for a short, brief time, and then we're going to get back into this active pattern as May continues to progress here. So if you guys can see, we got two different things ongoing here, really three. We've got a piece of energy still up here. This is that same pesky low that's been ongoing across the Ohio Valley in the Northeast for about 4 days now. It is officially almost up in Canada there. So a couple more showers and storms ongoing up into Maine, up towards Massachusetts. But other than that, that system's almost out of here. A beautiful day across the Ohio Valley today, and even up into the high plains in the Midwest. Just not a lot going on in terms of weather there. Our cutoff low, our little pesky cutoff low that's bringing a pretty big complex of showers and storms down here into the Gulf is going to continue to push its way east very slowly. A lot of rain falling in Louisiana. Be mindful of those flooded creeks, streams, roadways. If you are in flood-prone areas, be mindful if you get flash flood warnings to seek higher shelter or seek a better place to be if you're able to. I know that's a little bit harder to say when you're down in the deep south and you don't have mountains or elevation to go to, but just be mindful of those water levels as those will probably continue to rise for the next couple of days. We've got some showers and some storms ongoing up here into Kansas and into northern Oklahoma, and this is around that low pressure system that's going to be basically in place here over the plains and the southeast for about 3 to 4 days here before that system officially moves out, going into next Sunday and into next Monday. But other than that, guys, not a lot going on. The West Coast pretty quiet. Majority of the United States pretty quiet, other than the Southeast, the Northeast, and some of the portions of the plains. So it's going to be a pretty quick video. We're just going to talk about the next 3 days, severe weather outlook-wise, and then kind of get into next week, and then I'll leave you guys at that. I will mention we are going to do tomorrow on live stream, we're going to do kind of a weather tutorial class, just kind of talk about how to read radar, how to look at models, kind of all that stuff in a general nutshell for anybody that wants to do that. We're probably going to do that around 3 or 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon also as well. So we're also going to have some game streams as well over the next couple of days since we're not going to have a lot of severe weather. So if you guys play COD, if you play Fortnite or any of that stuff, I'll be on streaming that over the next couple of days as well, probably starting this evening. So I just wanted to kind of get out there, interact with you guys, talk to you guys non-weather related, although most times not the conversations stay weather related. So other than that, guys, let's go ahead and dive into this video here. We'll talk about what we're going to see the next couple of days here and get you guys out the door. Alrighty, and this is the Storm Prediction Center outlook for today for your May 7th here on this lovely Wednesday. We've got a pretty broad general thunderstorm risk across the United States here, the Four Corners all the way back down here into Texas, the Southeast, and then a little general thunderstorms risk up here in the Northeast. General thunderstorms, not much to speak on that. We do have a level 1 risk for severe weather that goes basically just on the southeastern extreme portions of Kansas, back down through Oklahoma City, Tulsa, western Arkansas, back down here into Texas and into Louisiana, and this is going to be a wind and a hail-driven risk zone. There is a small little 2% tornado risk up here into Tulsa this afternoon. If any storms around the low can become surface-based, you could get a brief spin-up tornado. This isn't going to be a tornado outbreak. This isn't going to be anything crazy. Just something to be mindful of if you're out and about today. Have a way to get alerts on your phones. We also still have a continuing 2% tornado risk all the way from the Lake Charles, Louisiana line all the way over here to Mobile, Alabama. And we haven't seen any tornado warnings yet today so far, at least since I've been awake here. So that's a good thing. So that tornado risk very, very low, probably really less than 2%, but it's there just in case something does happen in both areas there. And we've got a 5% wind threat for today. This goes from San Antonio all the way to Mobile for damaging winds up to 60 miles per hour. And we have a hail threat for 1 to 2 inch diameter hail from Oklahoma down through West Arkansas and into Texas. So once again, very, very low day today, guys. Today's not a day to panic. Really, the next 3 or 4 days is not a day to panic. We're going to see just these little marginal days kind of pop up here occasionally around this low pressure system, just because there's going to be a little bit of instability in the atmosphere. So we'll talk about the timing on that here in a second. We get to tomorrow's setup here, and we do have a pretty big marginal risk that goes from the southern portions of Texas all the way up here into the deep south and into the mid-Atlantic here. This is going to be for wind and hail. Once again, we have a less than 2% tornado risk for tomorrow. Less than 2, not 0, so just be mindful of that. You can get a brief spin up somewhere if things do happen. Wind threat's going to be the biggest thing, and hail threat. So 5% wind, 5% hail. Once again, I call this general thunderstorms, the low-end severe weather threat basically with it here. Could see 60-mile-per-hour winds and 1 to 2 inch diameter hail. We get into the day 3 outlook here, and we get things a little bit smaller. We got a small little general thunderstorm risk here. That ridge is officially going to be in place, keeping things mostly dry, mostly quiet on your Saturday. We've got a little marginal risk back down here into the southeast, the Florida Panhandle, and up into the South Carolina border there, up towards the North Carolina line there. So that's going to be for wind, hail, and possibly a brief little spin-up tornado or two. I don't expect much with that either there. And then we get to the day 4 through 8 outlook, and right now the Storm Prediction Center does not have anything highlighted, but I'm starting to get concerned about next week, mid next week, as we go towards the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday time frame. It looks like we're going to have, we got some mixed signals here. We know we're going to get severe weather returning. We've just got some mixed signals on where that severe weather is going to be at. So I expect over the next couple of days for the Storm Prediction Center to highlight some areas here as we go through next week. So if you are in the plains, the Midwest, the Ohio Valley again, up towards Minnesota, Wisconsin, those are going to be the areas. Personally, as of right now, this would be the area that I would be watching for the return for severe weather going into next week. It's not set in stone yet, but just something we're going to look at, and we're going to kind of piece that here together in just a second. Now, I do want to talk about what we're going to see down here into the deep south and into the southern plains today. This is our future radar, and you can see massive complex of storms ongoing down there this morning there. There's really not going to be a lot. You can see there's a brief window this afternoon, and they might honestly remove this 2% tornado risk for a couple of little baby cells. These are what we call mini supercells that could develop and give us the chance for an isolated tornado, some damaging wind, and some hail, but there's just really not a lot, and that's why there's a marginal risk out. Marginal risk means isolated thunderstorms. Doesn't mean scattered or numerous, and you can really see there's just not a lot going on. Now, as we go towards tomorrow, could see some brief, a more active period down here in the southern portion of Texas here for some rain, some thunderstorms, some wind, and some hail, but really most of that should stay confined to far extreme southern Texas. I wouldn't be shocked to see the Storm Prediction Center upgrade down here to southern Texas, so Corpus Christi, Brownsville, Texas, to maybe a slight risk for with a 2% tornado risk, because it looks to be there could be a mixed signal there of some wind, some hail, and maybe a brief tornado, but we'll see what they do with that later on throughout the day today. You can see, though, that low pressure system moving in. It's going to continue to move down southeast. Will be some showers and thunderstorms across the Ohio Valley, across the deep south, going through today, going through tomorrow. So, like I said, nothing to panic about, nothing to be concerned about. Really, just be mindful, be weather aware as always. Here's another image here of the Ohio Valley. That low pressure spinning around here. Once again, general showers and some storms, daytime heating thunderstorms popping up, and as the sun sets, those thunderstorms dissipate. So, not a lot really going on for you guys here over the next couple of days. Just be mindful of that as always. Let's take a dive here into what we're going to see over the next couple of days. There's a lot going on. You can see the ridge setting up here, low pressure system to the northeast, cut off low here, moving through the southern plains, and another little low pressure system off the four corners here. Basically, what's going to happen is both of those lows are going to kind of merge, and we're going to see that low up in the northeast move out. We're going to see this bulk shear across the southeast here, going through tomorrow, going into Friday, going into Saturday, and this is what's going to help give us the threat for wind and hail each day. Basically, a damaging wind and a hail threat, a low end hail threat each day there. I wouldn't be shocked to see SPC upgrade to a slight risk tomorrow, just if there's a more concerning area for damaging winds and hail. But other than that, we're going to see that be in place through Thursday, through Friday, through Saturday. We get another little low pressure system off the northeast here for maybe some disturbance potentially there, giving us some heavy rain, some thunderstorms, maybe even a low and severe weather risk. Not too concerned about that up there. And then you guys can see the big old ridge here. That is what keeps things quiet and dry for most of the weekend here. Still going to see some showers and some storms down here into the Gulf Coast, where that low pressure system kind of sits and it spins. And I do want to watch, and I mentioned this in yesterday's video, I do want to watch Monday. It looks like this cutoff low tries to go negative tilt, and if this does in fact happen, to what the European and the GFS are showing, we could actually get a pretty little decent severe weather setup on Monday afternoon across the Florida Panhandle up towards maybe into Georgia and South Carolina. So something we're going to have to watch. And I mentioned, though, too, that ridge is not going to last long. We're already seeing troughing setting up here in a subtropical jet stream start to move in off of the West Pacific, and that's going to bring in the severe weather setup going into next week. And we really need to watch Tuesday and Wednesday. We've got a negatively tilted trough. This would bring a pretty good amount of shear. You've got some divergence here ongoing. Another meteorological term that we just talk about in terms of like supercells for thunderstorms that produce large hail, damaging winds, and tornadoes. But this would be something I would be watching going into next week. I do think severe weather will definitely be back next week. We're going to get a little bit of a 4-day break here, I would say, in terms of significant severe weather. But if you live in the plains, the Ohio Valley, the Midwest, you really need to be paying attention to this next week, as we'll probably see more of an active pattern. And, this could bring a damaging wind threat, some hail, a couple tornadoes potentially next Wednesday, next Thursday, next Friday. And then that'll be moving off the coast. And then we're going to get another disturbance that comes in through the next week. I mean, you guys can see how active we're going to be to end the month of May out. So just something we're going to have to watch here very, very closely. I'll give you guys an idea here of the instability that's going to be in the atmosphere going into next week, because this is a little bit concerning. Just the higher the numbers doesn't mean how significant the severe weather is going to be. It just tells us how much energy we're going to have to deal with going into next week. And you can see, there's a couple areas of energy going down through this weekend here. And then we go into Monday and Tuesday, and we get a little surge of instability along the southeast coastlines there, the east coast there going into Monday and Tuesday. And then you start to see on Tuesday here, we get a pretty little big push, we get a pretty decent push of instability going into Tuesday evening, kind of a dry line setup here across the plains, the high plains there. So something to watch for there. And then we get into Wednesday, and Wednesday looks a little bit more interesting as well here, getting to see some pretty decent Cape values moving up into the 2,500 to 3,500 range, up into the Midwest, the Ohio Valley there. And then we get into Thursday, and Thursday, Friday look a little bit more concerning to me. If we get enough shear that sets up and we get a surface low to develop off the plains here, we could actually get us a pretty significant severe weather setup going into next week, or at least I should say next Thursday, next Friday. So something we really need to pay attention to. That instability will be very much there and existing through the weekend, and then after that, things get a little bit more uncertain as we go in towards the third week of May. So one more thing I will show you guys here before we wrap things up is going to be the overall precip, where we're going to see, the heavier rainfall totals out for the next 7 to 10 days, and that's really going to be the southeast. I expect the southeast to take a bullseye here, anywhere from 3 to maybe 8 inches of rainfall, 8 inches on the higher end of things, 3 to 5 more locally for you guys, especially down towards Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, the Panhandle of Florida. They're going to get soaked with lots of rain, so definitely not a good weekend this weekend to be out and about if you are down there. If you're up in the Ohio Valley, the Midwest, there'll be some scattered showers tomorrow and into your Friday, but other than that, things should be pretty calm, and then we start to make our way for our next system as it comes in beginning of next week. So I'll keep you guys updated. We're still going to have nightly live streams tonight at 9:30 Central Time. We'll have some gaming streams today as well. I do appreciate all for watching. Make sure y'all leave a comment, like the video as always, and we will see you guys in the next one. Be safe, y'all.